Yes, I'm here with Mike Lettieri from America.
America.
Yeah, the United States of America. So I thought we'd have a sort of a guitar hang and talk about some guitar stuff. And
Absolutely.
So, thanks, my man.
Dude, thank you, Nick. Yeah,
This
buddy.
is awesome. So we'll start with some of these questions because a whole bunch of people have given me questions of stuff they want to know about, and we'll see what people have got to say.
Cool, man.
One of the best questions so far is ask him if he likes it here.
Yeah.
I never got the that was a play on the album.
Yeah. Well, I know, right? We get that question often. I do. I love Wellington.
Yeah.
We were just talking about how much it reminds us of the Bay Area, where I grew up. So this is cool, man. So yeah, it was like I flew from Dallas to Tokyo, from Tokyo to Taipei, did a show in Taipei, then we flew from Taipei to Singapore, did a show in Singapore, then flew from Singapore to here.
Wow.
No, sorry, Singapore to Melbourne, did
And
a
then
show, and then Melbourne here. So we're sort of making a bit of a circle.
Yeah, I was going to say a bit of a loop and around. And
Yeah.
so one of the questions someone gave me here, James French, who's a trumpet player in town, wanted to know who do you listen to and who are you influenced by?
Man, there's so many. I mean, especially, guitar-wise. I grew up listening to Jimi Hendrix like everybody else, but then I got into, kind of more speedier guitar players like Eddie Van Halen and
Yeah, go Eddie.
Joe Satriani and those types of guys. And so I just got, really obsessed with guitar music when I was a teenager and was listening to, all kinds of rock and classic rock and blues and heavy metal. And, Yeah, and I got a little older and started getting more into R&B and soul and jazz,
Because I definitely hear that. There's like a R&B kind of soul.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned it. What did they say? Neo soul or something?
There's some neo soul in that. Well, that's
Yeah.
a product of kind of where I live now, being in Dallas. Dallas, Texas has a huge R&B and gospel and funk groove scene. And so...
Wow.
So
I would have
yeah.
thought it was chicken picking.
Well, there's that too. Yeah, I mean, that's
Really?
kind of the neat thing about Texas is that the guitar playing there sort of encompasses a lot of styles, and so and especially in Dallas, guys will play an R&B gig one night and play a country gig the next. I've done hip hop sessions in the afternoon and country sessions at night.
Yeah, I can hear that, and you're playing the broad, very broad breadth of music that you play, and
yeah, I try to listen to everything, man. Guitar or not guitar. If it's done well, I'm interested in it. So
cool. Do you have any go-to riffs, tunes you just like to jam when you're playing around on the guitar? This is for Jeff Bayer.
That's kind of a cool question. Well, I do remember being younger and playing along to Joe Satriani's Cool Number 9.
Oh, yeah.
I used to jam because the chord changes are pretty simple, but it grooves really kind of got a cool groove. I used to jam to that whole record quite a bit as a teenager. Used to play it along to a lot of Prince.
Yeah. I heard that in Goon Squad there's a whole lot of Prince influence things, right?
He's probably one of my top 5 favorite guitar players of all time. So
he's totally underrated as a guitarist, I think. 'Cause
I think it's
everybody
kind of,
thinks of him as a songwriter, right? But he's a killer guitar player.
And it's funny
so
now.
funky.
The guitar magazines are putting him in the guitar magazine,
Of course,
because he's dead. It's like, really, guys?
I saw one the other day
to put him in the guitar magazine.
Yeah.
Now you're doing it.
I saw one yesterday that they posted about how to play Purple Rain. I was like, come on. And you're doing it because it's... Yeah, anyway.
Now he's a guitar god. It's like, wow, where you been?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that Las Vegas concert, I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I own it. Yeah, that really changed my musical life. It really did. I got that when I was 19 or 20, and just kind of I was buying the fedora hats and it was a problem. Started playing a Telecaster.
It's not a bad obsession to have.
No, it's not.
Do you know what I mean?
But when you're the only friend out of your peer group that's obsessed with Prince, then they start to look at you kind of funny. I was the one guy in the clubs that was wearing. I was like, why is he wearing that hat? What? In
Love
Texas,
it.
they were kind of like, what are you doing? It's the wrong hat.
Well, you can imagine what Stevie Ray Vaughan was like when he came to New Zealand.
Right. Exactly.
Walking around the streets of Wellington dressed like he was. Everyone was like,
who's this guy? He must be an artist.
Yeah. So, any tips on how you... This is Kevin? How do I say that? Sorry, dude. Any tips on how you go about phrasing when improvising and composing?
Got it. I tend to think in terms of I think the almost like the melodic content maybe is a close second to the rhythmic content in what I'm playing.
But because it's coming from a groove place.
I think so, but even in tunes that aren't necessarily groove oriented, I do tend to try and rely on the feel and the rhythm and the placement of the notes rather than maybe like the notes themselves. I mean, like my ear will sort of determine where the melodies and the phrases are going, but as far as like, I want them to sit in the right place.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So like, I'll even sometimes just play one phrase 5 different ways, just displacing the notes in different parts of the beat. You know, makes them kind of like. I think it's an interesting way to grab a listener's attention. You know, sort of like saying the same phrase a couple different ways. You know, just by changing the rhythm around. So. And
articulations with that too. I
yeah,
guess, too,
of course.
So you're
dynamics and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to like. You know, I consider myself sort of like a blues-based player, so like most of my solos will sort of have a bit of that in it, but I tend to, you know, I'll stretch out to the point of, you know, not so far out that people are like, is this still, you know, is he still on planet Earth? You know, like sometimes I go up there, but then I have to come back down to reality, you know.
There's a line, isn't there?
Yeah,
like,
well, I mean, some people can pull it off far more easily than I can, but I try to play stuff that's somewhat accessible and entertaining sounding, you know.
I guess that's the nature of the gig too, isn't it? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, with your own music, do you feel you can go a little more there, right?
I actually kind of do less in a way, because when I perform my stuff, it's usually as a trio. So, and having said that, we can technically go into Crazy Town because there's only 3 guys, so there's a lot of room, but at the end of the day, I think when it's a trio, it sounds really great and full when everyone's locked in and like all going to the same place at the same time. Like all of my favorite rock bands are essentially trios with a singer, maybe. The Police, Van Halen, Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, you know. So. And
there's it's a trio sound, isn't it? I guess more than an individual's, isn't it?
Exactly.
You're trying to make a trio sound together going forward.
And you know, it's the same concept with Snarky Puppy. There's just 9 of us instead of 3.
So here's a big question that a bunch of people have asked: is like, how do you guys write your tunes with Snarky?
Oh yeah, well, it's actually a little bit easier than people think because we don't write as a group.
I did wonder that.
Yeah,
like if it was,
that would be a disaster.
9 chefs, right?
Yeah, 9 chefs. I know, 9 producers all in the studio, it's actually like 15. No, each tunes are written individually, and when it's time to make a record, guys will bring in the compositions. You know, Mike will listen to all of them, and kind of narrow. He'll sort of like build a record out of what's submitted. You know, of course he'll have songs of his own, and then. Bring in some of the other tunes from the other guys, and
yeah, I did wonder, like, because he being the band leader, like how much he kind of lets you guys kind of contribute to it. I
mean, it's totally open. I think he just wants to put the best product forward, and if that means it's only written by him, then cool. If it means it's written by him and it's 5 other guys, then cool. Like, yeah. So
yeah, he seems very open to including other people in the music. You know.
Yeah.
In fact, all of you guys do. I shouldn't say him. I mean him as the band leader, but you all like it seems to be like a cohesive kind of like a how do I explain it, like a group session where people can contribute and you bring guest artists in too.
Yeah, well, that's definitely been a big part of what we do in the past, recently. Yeah, the word that people like to use is collective.
Collective, yeah, that's
that's
so the process of writing might be like, say you had an idea and you thought, hey, this would work really cool for the band. You come in with that.
Absolutely.
Because you live in Texas, right? And then Michael's in New York. And then there must be other guys kind of spread out, right? So.
Yep. Yeah, that's really how it works. I mean, like I have a
email or something.
Yeah, like I wrote a tune for Culture Vulture that's a bonus track, and yeah, that's exactly how I wrote it in my room. I thought, well, I'm not going to play this with my band because there's too much going on. So I was like, sent it to Snarky, and that's how everybody does it.
Great.
Yeah. So.
And when you guys do that stuff, do you use Logic or something like that, and you kind of just. Or Sibelius or whatever, and send the file?
Yeah, we don't send charts, actually. Nobody writes charts anymore. Just because it's like, I think people Mike didn't want people to feel like they were like married to the chart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He wanted people to just play the tunes just from having it internalized, you know. So
because I noticed there was no charts, and it was actually quite refreshing because a lot of gigs I do, they're reading gigs where by sheer nature, but being a large ensemble, it's a different thing.
But yeah, everybody makes their demos a little bit differently. Some guys will program drums, some guys won't. Some guys will, record guitars on there. Some guys will just play it on a piano sound or something, and then we kind of just split up the different parts and the different melodies and figure out what sounds best on what instrument, So.
Sam Wilcock here, who's from London, or England anyway, asks how can I ask how you practice your time feel and what your influences were for the funky and rhythmic side. We kind of talked about the influences thing.
Yeah, we definitely talked about Prince.
Like, what do you do to work on the kind of time feel thing? Because that's kind of it, really.
Sure. Aside from playing to records, which I highly recommend. Probably,
so you do that? You try and copy the part and then play. Like, I do that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that so much of my guitar learning experience has just been playing along to records that I liked, and then getting that foundation and then applying it in a live band situation. My time got really good because I've tried to find great drummers.
Yeah.
A lot of the musical situations early on that I had was just guitar and drums and no bass player. Just for whatever reason, I couldn't find a bass player. Mm-hmm. And so it was like, okay, well, I'd be jamming with a buddy and it'd just be guitar and drums.
It's the best, isn't it? It's like the best.
Yeah, it's like freaking bass player. No.
Especially if it's a good drummer.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, so that was huge for me. It was just kind of like forcing myself to be the one melodic instrument that also had to kind of carry everything, because it's like, well, can't hide behind the bass player who's supposed to be keeping time. You got to do it yourself. I remember doing a gig in college with the college gospel choir where it was just me and a drummer.
Great.
And a choir, like 20 people. So I was like, well, you better be locking in now, buddy. So
a couple of years ago, maybe 5 years ago or something, I took a lesson with Oz Noy,
Sure, yeah.
And I said to him, like, what do you do to work on your time? And he says, play with good drummers.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. That was all he had to say. I was like, it's true. Like, if you... I mean, the drummer you guys have got is killer, man. That guy is like...
Yeah, we've sort of got spoiled with the best drummers on the planet. Just having
because I've seen
Snarky Puppy.
Like the guy you had before, I don't know his name, sorry.
We have
kind
three
of been
now.
for a while.
Sput is probably the guy you're thinking of, and then Larnell you saw last night, and then Jason Thomas is kind of like the newer guy.
Right.
Who's just this insane. He played on my record. He's in all those videos that I put up.
Yeah, he sounds great on that stuff. I mean,
that guy's insane. Great
player, and then I saw in the video you had Ari Honig, and you had there was another drummer, Lil John Roberts.
Yeah, he sat in with us. He did a few tours with us actually.
Because I played with him a few times when he came out to New Zealand with Janet Jackson. He came and sit in on my gigs, and that guy's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's a flamethrower.
It's like that whole gospel kind of chop thing. So, but that must make a huge difference to your guitar playing, right? Getting to play with those guys, it's like
it's not. It'll do wonders for you.
Yeah. So, someone else asked about the songwriting. So, how to incorporate gospel and neo soul licks, voicings, chord progressions over everyday music?
You just do it.
Yeah. Force it in there.
Yeah. Basically, and I'm the firm believer that I don't think there are like rules as far as like kinds of voicings you can. I mean, like, certain pop contexts you might get someone might raise an eyebrow if you add too many 9s or 11s or something. But if you're in any kind of like groove based music, R&B, funk, soul, the gospel, neo soul. Obviously, we're kind of in the same wheelhouse here, but like. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about just play them. If it sounds good, then it's good. If it doesn't work, then don't do it.
And a lot of it's context too, right? Like if you're like in Snarky Puppy, it's probably very open. You can do whatever you want. Whereas
well, but I mean, and the
like
reason
my
being
big band gig last night, it's
it might be a little exactly. You play the role, and if the role allows you that flexibility, obviously Snarky's music comes from gospel and soul, so it's accepted. But I don't play major 7 chords with a whammy bar and all the pinky flourishes if I'm doing like a Texas country gig. You know what I mean? Just doesn't work.
I'm glad to hear it, because there are people that do that kind of thing. And
well, it depends.
They don't usually get asked back.
I'm sure I've done it before, but I like to, like if I'm called to do a job, if the producer or the artist or whatever wants me to turn their thing inside out, then I'll do that. But if they want me to do the job and play the role that's asked of a guitar player typical of this style, that's what I'll do. So there's a certain amount of like professional courtesy
exactly.
that goes along with like injecting your own thing into somebody's project versus,
So you do a bit of session work and stuff for people?
Yeah, I do.
Because I know we talked before about Andy Timmins, and I know he does quite a bit of that kind of stuff, even though he's kind of got his own kind of thing as an artist going.
Right.
He's doing and so I guess there's quite a healthy scene for that in Texas.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it's primarily local artists, local, but there are actually quite a few producers that do, some major label stuff that comes through, and so I try to get my hands on that, and I do a lot of jingles as well. Actually, Andy and I sometimes work for the same, jingle company.
And you do that in your own studio at home, or do you go out to the...
A little bit of both. I do have a setup at home. Most of the indie projects I do are at home. But then, I'll go to a studio every now and then to do some stuff. I did a Texas country session the other day at a really nice little studio in Fort Worth,
Wow.
Yeah, so it, I guess it's funny that I talk to guitar players in LA and they're like, oh, there's no session work here, or like, everyone says that there's no session work. Well, it's like, well, somebody's making the record somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
So
people still want to do music.
Yeah,
I mean,
but,
people still creating, and
the home studio thing is definitely
a
big part of what I do, and I'm cool with that, man. Get an email. I can do the track in 2 hours in my underpants and email it back.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, it seems to go that way. Like, if everybody I know from all tiers seems to be just, that's the way they do it now,
Yep.
Guys are doing sessions, so everyone's available if you want, I guess. So
that's true.
It seems to be that way, which is cool.
Yeah.
What do you have on your pedal board? I knew we were going to get into geeky gear questions.
Gear stuff. Well, I have I have a couple pedal boards that are, I have two, and I sort of just am always redesigning and rebuilding them. I brought a small board out. I should have just brought it, but I didn't. I have a little small. It's actually a vegetable cutting board. Like the plastic.
Oh, really? And you just mounted the pedals on there?
Yeah, I got the idea from a friend of mine because it's cool because it's light.
Yeah, that's the problem. I got one of those pedal train things, and they're too heavy.
A little heavy. But I have a couple different Rocket pedals, J-Rocket Audio Designs, on there. They just came out with this thing called the Tour Series, and they're like little kind of tiny ones. I've got a couple of those, 2 different overdrives. What are they called? I guess I could just go down the whole list for you. Here we go. There's an Electro-Harmonics Pitchfork, and then that goes into...
That's what you were using for the pseudo baritone low notes, right?
Correct, yeah. That goes into a J-Rocket Lenny, which is a clean boost. And then that goes into a J-Rocket 45 caliber, which is like a Marshall kind of mid-gain overdrive. And then that goes into a J-Rocket Dude, which is sort of a higher gain overdrive. Supposed to be based on a Dumble overdrive special amp. And then that goes into a J-Rocket Tranquilizer, which is like a vibe phase blendy thing.
Excuse
me.
me.
That goes into a Boss volume pedal, the little small one. And that goes into an MXR carbon copy. And then from there to a TC Electronics Nova delay, and then that into a TC Electronics Hall of Fame reverb pedal.
Because you used to delay quite a bit, right, on the thing?
Yeah, I mean, that...
Especially with the singer-songwriter, with Michelle Willis.
Yeah.
Michelle,
there's a lot of kind of ambient sounds, definitely in her music. And then on the Snarky thing, it's kind of like... Yeah, like that's becoming pretty accepted, sort of those kinds of guitar sounds. Bob Lanzetti, the other... Well, actually, Bob and Chris McQueen are both pretty into the ambient guitar. And I'm not really, but I have to, it's like you kind of want to bring in some of the sounds that they do as well.
A lot of times you were playing the horn lines too, right, and doubling that.
Well, I was trying to.
Yeah, that's great because it just fattens up that texture. Sure. And I guess when you've got so many keyboards and things in the group,
we definitely have a rule like no more than 2 people playing chords at one time. I mean, unless it's the exact same voicing, exact same rhythm, because then it just gets mushy.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say there must. So that's actually a good question. With a 15-piece band, there must be so much going on all the time, right? Because you guys seem to have at least 2 of everything.
Yeah, it's organized chaos. I mean, in the studio, but if ever, usually when people are coming up with or sending their demos out, they try to like more or less write certain parts for people, and then anytime that there's like a section where it's kind of like you're figuring out your own thing to do, if you can't figure out something that works, you just don't play.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, someone said they loved your accompanying with Michelle Willis.
Yeah.
Which I thought too, like that for me was really interesting because it was very much a textural kind of thing. Did she talk to you about how she wanted that kind of thing to happen, or you just...
A little bit, yeah. I mean, she sent me the music, and I don't know the name of the fellow that played on it. They're all Canadian up in Toronto, and but yeah, the recorded guitar on that record is like delayed and verbed out, and
right.
It's
so
actually
you didn't copy those parts, though, did you?
Not really.
No,
I mean, I kind of like I played my version of them, which she did communicate that. She was like, do your thing. So I was like, cool, great. But I'm gonna do what she's used to hearing in my own way. So, hence how that happened.
Yeah, she was great. I really enjoyed it. The whole
songs are really deep.
Yeah. What amp do you use?
I have a couple different ones.
Lately, while we're on the
might as well. Yeah, I mean, let's see. We've had a couple different Fenders on this tour to varying degrees of success.
We talked about that tour.
Yeah, right. Usually we have a Supro on the road with the band.
And it's how many watt is it? Like a 40 watt?
Well, I like the bigger ones.
Yeah. I like. Is it loud?
It can be. Yeah. I prefer. I really like their Royal Reverb model, which is essentially the Coronado, I think, with reverb and with it. But I don't use the reverb. I don't know. I feel I don't know. For some reason, it sounds bigger to me. But so I like that one.
Well, you got a pedal too, right? So you can probably control it easier.
Exactly. And then at home, I have a couple different rigs. I use a Naylor Dual 60.
Oh, great.
Which is they're made in Dallas.
Yeah.
And then I have a Pure 64, which is made in New York. Very small company out of Albany, New York. And I've been using Third Power stuff a little bit. If you're familiar with Third Power in Nashville. Yeah, I went down the rabbit hole of boutique amps, and now it's like, oh no.
Yeah, I know. I've been there.
So
that and vintage stuff can be dangerous.
I don't even touch that yet. But
there's so many great boutique makers now around.
Yeah, man.
So after New Zealand, where do you go next?
We go back to Japan, except this time we're actually going to play a show instead of just sitting in the airport. So we got a show in Tokyo, and then a day off, and then a show in Yokohama, and then we go home for about a week or two, and then we go to Europe for the North Sea Jazz Festival to do one show, I think, with the Metropole Orchestra. And then I'm going to go back to Dallas, and Bob will be on the tour in Europe. So we'll get the dates at the beginning of the year, and then kind of powwow between the three of us and decide who wants to do what, can do what.
So typically, how long would a tour be for you guys?
Well, the tour, this year, I think it's technically 3 months. We did a month in the United States, and then this was gonna be about a month, but it got cut short. We had some gigs in Korea that we thought were gonna happen, and it didn't happen. So that's why we're going home from Japan. And then I think the tour in July is a month, and then I think there's 2 weeks in August or something, and then we're pretty much done, actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So the fall will be spent. I'm gonna try and tour with my trio.
That's cool. So how do you find with your guitars? Do they get screwed up with that and things like that?
Not so much. Well, it sort of varies with the guitar. I have an old Fender Strat that I had when I was 16, and for some reason, I always have to trust the neck on that thing. I don't know why, but it's the one guitar of all my guitars that's the most susceptible to heat or cold. So I don't really travel with it as much anymore. The Grosh I have, I don't think I've actually trusted the neck once. I've had it for 2 years.
Great.
So, I mean, I don't know what they put magical fairy dust into their guitars, and I haven't even had to touch it.
Those are great guitars, too.
It's just the best guitars in the world, man. I love them. I love those things.
So it's did he make that for you, or is it a...
Yeah.
So it is a custom?
Yeah. He does primarily custom work. I mean, he will make several models that he'll put in stores. But I think a big part of what he does is like, made to order types of stuff. So you can go on the website and ask for the Mark Lettieri model.
Well, there you go.
It's not gonna have my name on it. Well, my name's not on it, but you can get my specs, bro. Whatever.
Yeah, that's great.
So, yeah.
So now that Snarky's had like a Grammy, that must have changed things, right?
Yes.
Or did it just like become this thing that's like part of PR and not really?
Well,
right?
It's definitely part of the PR scheme. Mm-hmm. We're definitely gonna put that on our bios, and everybody puts it on their personal bios and all that stuff. But I don't think it changed the way we deliver our music or like the amount of effort that we put in or anything like that. I think if anything, now we know that there's people are watching us, they're looking at us. We have to hold ourselves to that standard of 2-time Grammy Award-winning band.
Was it 2-time?
Yeah, we won one this past year.
Fantastic.
Back in February it was. We won the second one for Silva, the Metropole Orchestra record.
Oh yeah, that's great too. That's really,
thank you, man.
It's killer. And I love that clip with Layla Hathaway too.
Oh yeah.
And my favorite part about it is not only that she sings that thing right where she does the split voice thing,
triad,
but it's watching all the rest of you guys just lose it when she does, especially the drummer. He's like laughing his ass off.
Yeah, well that was totally not planned.
It wasn't. I wondered that. Like it seems
she sort of did it because we rehearsed that tune like once or twice with her, and she kind of did it in one of the rehearsals. And everybody was like, "What was that?" She's like, "Oh, something I've been working on."
Yeah.
We're like, "Okay," and then she totally nailed it 3 times in the take, and it was just like, well.
Which is brave, isn't it? Really, because that could have, like, if it's something
I
really new,
think,
you know what I mean?
I think it's Layla Hathaway. I don't, even her bombing is like,
amazing,
10 times greater than anything else anyone's gonna do on a good day. So
those things, like those video sessions that you do, like I saw the one. Was it in Brooklyn? You did the one of the first ones that I saw?
Yeah, the second one record.
At Shapeshifter with
right.
What's this guy? Matt Garrison's
place. Yeah, man. Yeah.
And you guys were like the first person to use that space, right? First band.
We rolled in there and it was just essentially a warehouse with like like there was a shop vac in the corner and like a carpet and that was rolled up and paint cans and.
So you must have been like, what is this? Where's the studio, right?
No, I mean,
or did you just trust?
We were just like, all right, cool, let's do it. The band. If people knew what the kind of stuff we went through as a young band,
imagine.
I mean, we there really is no difference between us and like the garage band story. It's like a couple of dudes. Well, I mean, it's a college garage because these guys got together in school, but driving around in vans, sleeping on floors, not making any money for several years. So,
it's just what you have to do.
So if you go into a room that's an empty warehouse and you have to build a studio, you go, okay, that's what we got to do. So,
and that must have been pretty tough for a while, but that's what you have to do, don't you? If you want to get the band out there and get it happening, you just got to hit the road and you got to.
Yeah, I mean, everybody. I mean, you got to hand it to Michael Lee for having the tenacity to keep doing it and sacrificing so much, and so all of us recognized that and wanted to be a part of that. And plus, the music and the shows are just so fun. Yeah. It's like if you're having a great time playing music, you'll do weird things that you won't normally do to make sure that you can play that music. So
yeah, it's a pretty good way of living life, isn't it? When you think about it, we're very lucky to get to do this.
Very, very blessed.
Because here you are in New Zealand.
Here we are in Wellington.
The other side of the
sun
world.
shining.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, man.
So what's the next kind of thing for the future for you? Like, where do you see this all kind of going for you?
Man,
we kind of already discussed it.
Yeah, no, sure. But, I mean, I just want to keep making music that I'm proud of, and stuff that I feel is identifying who I am as an artist and identifying the people that I want to work with. I want to make music with people who have integrity and who are really trying to have a voice and to say something.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be your music. You're happy to kind of work like.
No, I mean that. Of course, from a solo artist perspective, I would love to. I do plan on continuing that and making that a thing, and being Mark Lettieri, whatever that is. I would love to do that. That's a goal, and I'm going to be committed to doing that. But I love playing other people's tunes, and helping other people kind of like see that vision. Because people help me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have a band that comes and helps me achieve my goals, so I'm totally cool giving that back to other people.
Yeah, that bass player on that track's great, Wes.
Wes,
man, he's like
homeboy.
So funky.
Yeah. His band just put out a record, the Funky Knuckles.
Yeah.
They're on Ground Up, the Snarky Puppy label, actually. So.
Yeah, maybe you could discuss that. Like, how does the label work? Is that something you're directly involved with, or is that like the bigger, broader?
It's company? It's definitely the broader thing. I'm personally not on my record is out on Rope-A-Dope Records, which is which Snarky Puppy used to be a part of. So a couple of the guys in the band who have solo projects have their stuff out on Rope-A-Dope, and then some of the other guys have their stuff out on Ground Up. But yeah, it's Mike started the label as a subsidiary of Ground Up, or I'm sorry, a subsidiary of Rope-A-Dope, and then went full independent about a year or two ago. Yeah, it's just sort of like the vehicle for the bands, and the people that we like, and trying to keep the music contained with the artists, not the guys in suits and fancy chairs.
Yeah, exactly. And
don't
you
really care about art.
And the festival that you guys are doing, I was like, wow, that's ambitious. Like,
yeah, I'm eager to. I know it's going to be great. I don't know much about it outside of the date, but it's going to be pretty awesome.
Give it a shout out if you want.
Yeah, February. I'm gonna mess it up. I think it's February 10th through the 12th in Miami, America, Miami, Florida. I think it's called Ground Up Fest. I don't know. Maybe we'll find a different name or something. But it's gonna be us, a bunch of artists from Ground Up, and yeah, I don't want to say who's playing because I don't want to if they're confirmed or not. But it's gonna be rad, I promise. And it's awesome. In Miami, so Cuban sandwiches for everybody.
Man, I'd love to go. I've never been to Miami. It'd be great.
It's a fun place.
Is it?
Yeah.
So seriously, ask how much you like the blue Dongle Strat. And is it in particular the 327 in the bridge? What's the 327?
How much do I like the... Well, I like the guitar very much. I play it all the time. It is a very nice guitar. And
so it's a 327.
It's the pickup that's in there. It's called a 327.
It's the humbucker?
Yeah, it's Don. Don makes his own pickups.
All right.
And yeah, it's rad. Yeah.
Is it high gain or a low gain kind of mid?
It's probably middle of the road.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where I tend to live as well. Like, they kind of...
Well, with the higher output ones, you can't really play them clean. They don't really sound good clean,
No, we're good. That looks like all the questions. Oh, no, there's another one from Dave Henry. Oh, that's the same one.
Yeah. Who is this guy?
He's a good guitar player, actually. He's a good guy. It's probably too early in the morning for him to...
Sure. Well, thank you for your questions, Dave Henry.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, well, that's cool, man. I think we've probably got a whole heap of stuff, so thanks very much.
Thank you, Nick.
It's been great hanging, and come back to New Zealand again soon.
I would love to come back here, man.
Yeah.
Spend a couple extra days. We go...
Bring your wife, come and show her around the country.
Man. And I want to do, like, hiking and stuff next time. Get out and get my hands dirty.
The South Island in particular is really beautiful. Like, it's... The entire population of the South Island is like one city in the North Island. And not even like Auckland, which is the biggest. So there's like, it's very big, broad areas and mountains, lakes.
That's where they film all the stuff, right?
Yeah, well, a lot of it was done here in Wellington too. So
cool.
If we get a chance, I'll take you out and show you some of their stuff too. So
yeah.
All
right.
Cool, man. Okay, great.
Rock and roll.
We got it.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.